Putin has his eyes on more than Ukraine, and Europe could be facing its biggest conflict since World War II. So how did we get here, and what might the future hold? I'm Jessica Yellin, and this is the News Not Noise Haiku, the news in 575 seconds. President Biden has made it clear that Russia will pay a steep price if it invades Ukraine. Russian banks won't be able to work in dollars. Russian businesses will be denied important technology. Allies of Russia will have their personal holdings targeted, and that's just what the president is saying out loud in public. Extended occupation would also be risky for Putin. More than 100,000 troops committed to Ukraine means Russian lives would be lost. Millions would be spent on military and defense equipment, and an unpredictable response from the West would have untold consequences. The cost is high, so why is it worth it to Putin? A little background. Ukraine is the second largest country in Europe. It sits right between Russia and the European Union. It is literally and figuratively a gateway to the West. The country has tons of natural resources, for example, coal, steel, iron, natural gas, and vital access to the sea. But there's a priceless incentive for Putin as well.
He is dealing with what I believe he thinks is the most tragic thing that's happened to Mother Russia. The Berlin Wall came down, the empire has been lost, the near abroad is gone, etc. The Soviet Union has been split. He is trying to find his place in the world between China and the West.
In simpler words, Putin hasn't moved on from the USSR, even though the rest of the world has. He is busy amassing troops and weapons on the border with Ukraine, and the U.S. says it's uncovered intelligence that Putin is creating a pretext for war so that he could invade. A little history. Putin has called Ukraine an integral part of Russia's history and culture. It was long known as Little Russia. Today, Ukraine is filled with Russian speakers, but Ukrainians are ethnically distinct. They have their own language and their own national identity. Now, the connection all started in 1922 when Ukraine became one of the founding states of the Soviet Union. The Ukrainians still had a strong national identity, so much so that in the 1930s, Joseph Stalin, the dictator who ruled the USSR, crafted policies to defeat that spirit of independence. Historians say that Stalin manufactured a famine that starved more than 3 million Ukrainians to death.
This was not a famine that happened because of bad weather. It wasn't because of insects. It wasn't a natural catastrophe. It happened because Stalin took these decisions, and then those had very concrete effects in Ukraine.
The country endured further horrors behind the Iron Curtain until the USSR started to crumble. The Soviet flag came down in 1991, and Ukraine got its independence. So did more than a dozen other countries that were under the Kremlin's control, and so-called satellite countries like Poland and Romania. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine has become a democracy, though troubled by deep corruption and poverty. Ukraine is now considered to be part of Europe, and its leaders have worked to build alliances with the West. They've even lobbied to join the North American Treaty Organization, NATO. But Putin is dead set against that. In fact, one of Putin's conditions to avert war is he wants a pledge that the West would never let Ukraine get admitted to NATO. It's a commitment the West will not make. So, imagine if Russia successfully topples the government of Ukraine and installs puppets who answer to the Kremlin. What happens to the other former Soviet republics and allied nations? Let's look at the map. Belarus, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Moldova, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Armenia, and Tajikistan. And then there's the threat to former satellite states like Poland, Romania, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Bulgaria, and Albania. There's one more turn of the screw. For Putin, Russian success isn't just about extending Russia's borders. It's also about destabilizing Western nations and their allies. For decades, he has worked to undermine democracies. How? Maybe you remember Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election, Russia's cyber attack on the independent nation of Georgia in 2008, Or Russia's role in spreading disinformation around Brexit. Another Putin strategy? Providing support for the strongmen who run countries like Venezuela, Syria, Belarus, among others. If it seems like the stakes are high, it's because they are. Election security, cyber warfare, Russia's nuclear arsenal, the global economy, and democracy are all under threat. Big picture, if Putin gets a yellow light from the West in Ukraine, will he take that as a green light to pursue military aggression elsewhere? I know it's a lot. I'll continue to follow developments for you. And this was your first News Not Noise Haiku. Please subscribe to this channel and consider giving us a thumbs up below so this content can reach a larger audience. Thanks for watching.